Hey everyone, I'm Claudio and welcome back to another video on this channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about reading, the main benefits it has for the long term, as well as how to make it a routine, because a lot of people know the benefits, but still they don't make time for reading. So let's get started. Until I turned 16 years old, I was that kind of person that used to get bored really quick about reading books. And even though people around me were trying to convince me that reading books have a lot of benefits, well, I was saying no to each of them simply because I considered reading books boring and I was falling asleep after the first page. Well, this happened until one day when my fitness coach at that time told me about Shining by Stephen King. I must say that I was really fascinated about this book. First of all, this is a horror book and the action takes place in a hotel. When I was reading it, I was in a holiday and I was alone in a hotel room. Well, it was so much adrenaline and intense moments while reading it. After finishing this book, I continued reading many other books by Stephen King, and after that, I was feeling the pleasure of reading other types of books as well. So, if you're that kind of person that feels that reading is boring for you and you prefer maybe to watch a movie, let's see first, why is that? Most of the people in these kind of situations were probably forced by their parents or by their teachers at some point in their life to read some unpleasant books. And after reading several books like this, it totally makes sense that it feels boring for you simply because these were not the types of books for you. Try to remember your first interactions with books. If they were pleasant for you, well, it's highly likely that you continue reading and enjoy reading books. But if they were not, you might have remained with that feeling of boring. In order to get initiated in this world of books, what you could do here is to start with something that is really appealing for you. And for example, if you enjoyed a lot the Game of Thrones series, what you could do would be to find a book that has similar action, and you'll be surprised about how many differences are between a book and watching a TV series or a movie. Kind of the same action, but so many more details. I challenge you to do it. I'm sure you won't regret it, and after experiencing this, it's highly likely that you'll be able to enjoy reading books and you won't have the same feeling of boring, because you'll find this a pleasant activity. Let's move on now to the benefits of reading books. If you read domain-specific books, you get a deep understanding of how things work in a specific domain. For example, if you are a marketing expert and you read a lot of marketing books, well, at that moment you'll feel that you master your field of knowledge. The next benefit I like to talk about is vocabulary improvement. By reading constantly, you'll have that feeling that you have a wider range of words that you can use in your day-to-day life. The next benefit I'd like to talk about is expands creativity. And here I'd like to come with a personal example. When I was a software developer and I was reading about psychology, I started all of a sudden to have ideas about building softwares in the domain of psychology. And the last thing I'd like to mention about reading books is that you get a deep understanding of the world around. By reading books, you explore new cultures, new traditions, different periods of time, and you adopt different values like perseverance, courage, honesty, and so much more. Moving on, let's see how can you make reading books a daily routine. First, it's really important to have the books as close as possible to you. For example, if you plan to read daily on your couch, well, then make sure that you have the books in that area and it's visible for you. Don't put the book you want to read in a room where you rarely enter or under the newspapers. The book you read needs to be attractive. But what can happen here is that we can start a book and enjoy reading it in the first part, and after a while the book becomes boring, and at that point most of the people start avoiding that book. Well, what you should do in these kind of scenarios would be to start reading another book and pause the one you already started, and get back to the book you paused when you feel it. If you use a calendar in your day-to-day life, well, make sure that you create a recurrent event that will remind you to read. When you plan to read, start with 5 minutes, something that is easily achievable for you. Because if it's something captivating, you'll definitely stay longer. But it's a really good trick for your mind. If you have in mind to stay for 30 minutes, let's say, well, then it becomes harder and harder to get started, especially when you don't have this routine established in your day-to-day life. And the last one I'd like to mention is to plan to read after you do certain activities. For example, as in my case, after I eat the lunch, I read for several minutes. Or like some other people do, like after I wake up, I read for 5 minutes. In conclusion, reading is an amazing habit. It's a way in which you learn a lot of things, you explore different times in history, and you live each moment with your favorite characters. Also, since I talked about Stephen King earlier, I would like to recommend you my favorite book by Stephen King, which is The Dead Zone. This is an amazing science fiction novel in which the main character awakens from a coma, which took nearly 5 years, and as a result of brain damage now experiences clairvoyant and precognitive visions triggered by touch. Pretty cool, right? And that's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment below, like and share so others can find about it too. Until the next time, goodbye!